This is a city under constant attack from the Earth. San Francisco. More than 20 tremors hit this city every day.
We've come to sort of take earthquakes a little bit for granted, but we do know that the big one is coming.
Building a city right next to an earthquake fault seems impossible. How does San Francisco survive? To find out, we will strip the city. To reveal its secret inner workings and expose the ingenious technology that allowed engineers to build this city on the brink of disaster. San Francisco is home to over 7 million people. They're all sitting on a tectonic time bomb. 2 big earthquakes, one in 1906, another in 1989, nearly destroyed the city.
There's a hell of an earthquake and we've got windows and everything that's falling out.
The cost of the disasters, more than 3,000 dead,
John, we got one casualty right here.
and over $6 billion worth of damage. Engineers in San Francisco are working hard to stop tragedies like this from happening again. An army of workers is improving bridges, anchoring homes, and upgrading the transport systems to make the city earthquake-proof. One of their greatest challenges is to build skyscrapers that stay standing when the Earth moves. The tallest one in town is the Transamerica Pyramid, towering 850 feet above the city. Its skin is made of almost 4,000 glass windows and thousands of tons of concrete and crushed quartz, sheltering the 1,500 people who work in this colossus. They need all the protection they can get, as just a few miles away is the source of all the big earthquakes in San Francisco. It's the San Andreas Fault, the bane of California. A team of geologists is on a mission to track the fault with extreme precision.
This is an image looking down the San Andreas Fault with San Francisco located here. However, in just looking at this image, it's actually difficult to see where the fault might actually be.
The team's plane is equipped with LiDAR, a laser that scans the ground with an accuracy of 6 inches.
This laser shoots 100,000 shots per second and can be used to directly illuminate the ground surface by penetrating through the vegetation to show the ground surface below.
LiDAR strips away bushes and trees, even houses, to reveal the true landscape below.
When we overlay the LiDAR imagery that illuminates the bare ground surface, we can clearly see the location of the San Andreas Fault as this gash in the landscape that runs right next to San Francisco.
Two colliding continental plates create this tear in the landscape. Sliding on top of hot magma, they slowly crunch past each other. The landscape above breaks apart and forms the San Andreas Fault.
In this area, the Pacific and North American plates are moving roughly about 35 millimeters per year relative to one another. In some places, the San Andreas Fault actually moves continuously over time, whereas in other places, such as right here, the San Andreas is actually stuck or locked.
The continental plates never stop moving. So where the fault is locked, extreme tension builds up in the rocks. They bend and stretch until they shatter and unleash a barrage of shock waves and earthquake.
San Francisco is in a little bit of a precarious position. You can't relocate a city. And so you just have to try and prepare the city as best you can.
The Transamerica Pyramid is full of clever engineering to protect it from earthquakes. And it's Doug Peterson's job to make sure those systems work flawlessly.
We have monitoring devices throughout the building. Here we are right now at 853 feet, and we have the top accelerometer that measures movement.
The 1989 quake shook the Transamerica for more than a minute.
Where we're standing right now swayed 1 foot end to end. So that's the largest movement that's been recorded so far.
Nobody was hurt because of the ingenious inventions hidden under the skin of the Transamerica. Its pyramid shape gives it a low center of gravity. The glass and concrete cladding conceals a massive steel skeleton that holds its 48 floors. A gigantic steel truss wraps around the base to give it extra strength. And in the basement, a 30,000-ton steel and concrete block anchors the building firmly into the ground. These reinforcements keep the Transamerica Pyramid stable, even in a magnitude 7.1 earthquake.
If the quake would happen right now, I would definitely probably not make the manliest noises coming out, but my knowledge of this building is going to make me want to be in this building when an earthquake does happen.
Today, San Francisco has more skyscrapers than any other city on the West Coast, and they're built to survive. Tough steel skeletons, concrete floors, and deep foundations make these buildings super strong, but allow them to roll with the punches so the people inside are safe. But in an earthquake, the city's bridges are just as vulnerable. Safeguarding these essential lifelines is another big challenge for San Francisco's engineers. San Francisco, 8 a.m. Rush hour. Tens of thousands of vehicles are trying to get in and out of the city. Most of them squeeze across two big bridges on the tip of the peninsula. Without these vital traffic arteries, San Francisco would grind to a halt. This one is probably the most famous bridge on the planet, the Golden Gate Bridge. It stretches over half a mile across a windy strait that's 300 feet deep and full of vicious currents. To survive in this extreme location, the Golden Gate has some heavy engineering under the hood. Its foundations stick 60 feet deep into the solid rock below the seabed. 150,000 tons of concrete lock the 800-foot-tall towers firmly into the ground. Concrete blocks reach deep into the rocks on the banks. They anchor the two main cables that hold up the bridge. They're made of over 80,000 miles of steel wire, enough to circle the globe 3 times. The Golden Gate has withstood the elements for 75 years, but its biggest challenge is yet to come. 12 miles to the east, the tension in the fault line is close to breaking point. A really big quake is overdue in San Francisco. Geologist Roger Bilham is investigating where it might strike.
The fault hasn't slipped for 142 years, and the average time between earthquakes is about 138 years. So it's about to happen. You know, it could happen today, actually. I rather hope it will, because I've got all sorts of equipment with me for just such an occasion.
Sensors dotted all over San Francisco constantly monitor the fault's movement.
Yeah, this is one of our creep meters. What you can see is a rod coming in here. The end of the rod is attached to the far side of the fault. This end is free and it's just being pulled away. We're measuring that expanding gap very precisely.
The creep meter tells Roger how much tension is building up in the fault.
So I need to measure the gap here. 63.78 millimeters. So it's moving about 5 millimeters a year. The fault over thousands of years is moving about 9 millimeters a year, which means that half the amount is stored every year, ready for the next earthquake. Below 5 kilometers is locked, riveted. It's glued together so firmly that nothing will allow it to slip except an earthquake or fracture. I need to replace the batteries first.
This lock zone is just a few miles away from the city center, and it's guaranteed to produce a massive quake.
The only surprise we have is exactly when it's going to occur. We really haven't got any idea. The longer we wait, of course, the larger the earthquake will be, and that is a little concern. But earthquakes don't need to be dangerous, you just build right.
In 1989, San Francisco learned this lesson the hard way. On the 17th of October, just after 5 p.m., 60 miles south of the city, 10 miles underground, a lock zone in the San Andreas Fault slips by 6 feet. A shock wave as powerful as 20 Hiroshima bombs rips through the Earth's crust and hits San Francisco only seconds later. The Golden Gate Bridge bends and sways, but its smart engineering keeps it intact. 6 miles away, the Oakland Bay Bridge, the busiest bridge in America, isn't so lucky. It's too rigid to ride out the shock waves. Bolts on the bridge joints shear off, and a 250-ton section comes loose.
The upper deck collapsed onto lower deck.
The superstructure has collapsed.
One motorist dies, and the bridge shuts down. It stays closed for a whole month while workers put it back together again. But there's no guarantee it will survive the next quake. So now a brand new Bay Bridge is going up, right next to the old one. Bart Ney works on the multi-billion-dollar project.
And away we go.
To protect the new bridge from quakes, engineers had to tear up the rulebook.
the business end of the bridge. When the original Bay Bridge was built, the idea was to make structures very robust so that they would stand against large-scale earthquakes. But we've learned over the years that Mother Nature is so powerful that you need to find ways to work with her, dance with her when she starts to move. So the technologies that we have employed and indeed innovated on this bridge allow the structure to move with the earthquake.
The new Bay Bridge couldn't be more different from the old one. Almost everything about it is designed to be flexible. A huge steel cable wraps around the longest span of the bridge deck, so it can swing freely. The central tower has steel pylons that move independently. The beams connecting them can deform like crumple zones to stop the tower from collapsing. The roadway is split into 28 sections, so it can stretch without breaking. Hidden inside the road, hollow steel beams absorb the energy of the quake to protect the rest of the structure. The new Bay Bridge can move safely with an earthquake, hopefully even the big one. Now the builders have to finish it without disrupting city traffic.
The Bay Bridge is one of the busiest bridges in the nation, and it is the backbone of transportation in the Bay Area. So trying to replace it and keep it open at the same time is a Herculean feat that we've had to do over the years. How's it going?
Tomorrow, the team will close down the bridge to pave one of the final pieces of roadway.
This is where we actually took and widened a 75-year-old bridge so that we could slide traffic over and then surgically remove a portion of it that's in the way of the new bridge. You can see that was the old freeway. This is the new section that we're paving right now. And this is the point that we never would have been able to pave with traffic on it because clearly the cars would have been right in the way of the work. So all this paving is coming and joining these parts of the freeway together so that we can shift traffic on this in just 2 days from now.
It'll be another year before the new bridge opens. Will this be soon enough?
We do know that the big one is coming. I'm hoping that me and my family are on this bridge when that earthquake hits.
Without its bridges, San Francisco would not have been able to grow into this sprawling metropolis. But as more and more people come to live in this city, protecting their homes is as complex a challenge as safeguarding skyscrapers and bridges. San Francisco is one of the most densely populated cities on the West Coast. Ever since the Great Gold Rush of 1848, real estate has been in short supply. Right on the doorstep of the financial center in Mission Bay, engineers are planning 6,000 new homes to ease the pressure. Lori Simpson's job is to test the soil before the houses go up, because it's quite literally shaky ground.
So 150 years ago, we would be standing right in the middle of a bay. Now, Mission Bay has a layer of fill over it. It's a mix of rock and soil and debris. They didn't properly place it back then, so now it's in a relatively poor condition for support of buildings.
Building houses here isn't easy because of the unique way San Francisco has grown. A clue lies hidden right under the waterfront. 30 feet below the ferry port are the remains of a wooden sailing ship. This area was once the port of San Francisco. Now, it's a ship's graveyard. Dozens of vessels are entombed in rubble and mud under the financial district. They were all left behind during the gold rush, and the city grew right on top of them.
This is a map of San Francisco. This is Mission Bay right here. If you can see, this is the old shoreline, and the gray shows all the areas that were reclaimed in the city, starting back to about the late 1850s. Right here, we're standing on about 15 to 20 feet of fill, and below that fill, we have the bay mud. That's that weak compressible clay.
Loose fill and bay mud are a nasty mix.
Here's a sample of the bay mud. So we obtained the sample when we were drilling here on this site. You can get a sense of how soft it is by just sticking your thumb in it. It's not very strong, it's not good for foundation support. So you would not want to support a building on this material.
200 square miles of land around San Francisco Bay was once ocean. Now, it's full of rubble, rocks, and sand. On the surface, this ground looks strong enough to build on. But down below, the wet, soft bay mud makes it very dangerous in an earthquake. When the shock waves hit the loose soil, it liquefies and turns to quicksand. The houses on top can sink into the ground, and in extreme cases, they will collapse. This happened in the quake of 1989. Many homes were severely damaged.
When an earthquake happens, this ground will have very strong shake, and the fill is prone to liquefaction. So it will liquefy, will lose strength. So if any buildings were founded in the fill, the buildings would settle and experience a great amount of damage.
Lori's crew must build extremely deep foundations for these new homes. They weld steel beams together to produce long foundation piles, then hammer them through the rubble and mud of Mission Bay until they hit bedrock 240 feet below. They drive down over 200 of these piles in clusters, cap them with concrete, and tie them together with concrete beams. Finally, they cast a reinforced concrete mat on top. This produces a rock-solid base that will stop even a 5-story building from sinking. These megapiles are almost twice as long as the one supporting the tallest skyscraper in the world. Just one of them can cost well over $15,000. But in this city, they're worth every cent. Extreme foundation technology will allow thousands of people to live safely on the land San Francisco has claimed from the sea. But an even bigger challenge for the city's engineers hides deep underground to protect its subways and tunnels. No city in North America has more hills than San Francisco. There are 43 under the city center alone. Over 28 million years, countless collisions along the San Andreas Fault folded the coastline like a giant accordion. The unstoppable force that gives the city earthquakes also made its landmark hills. The streets of San Francisco are among the steepest in the world. Moving people and goods over the hills has always been a challenge. The first solution was the cable car. It can scale even the steepest streets without slowing down. The secret lies hidden under the tarmac. Inside a concrete tunnel, a steel cable moves at a constant speed of 9 miles an hour. A powerful clamp attaches the cable to the car, hauling it up even the steepest hills. The system even works when two lines cross. One driver releases his cable just before collision. Pulleys guide it safely below the other line, and the driver picks it up again on the other side. By 1900, there were 600 cable cars running up and down the streets of San Francisco. But the mega earthquake that struck in 1906 tore the network to shreds. Today, instead of going over the hills, engineers drill right through them. They're digging new road and subway tunnels to ease the traffic congestion. The geology of this earthquake city is a challenge for tunnel builders, like Ken Johnson.
The rock has had a rough life. It's been sheared and mangled and bent, and so we have to have a design which is more conservative and anticipates the variety of different rock behavior that we would expect.
And tunnels under San Francisco must also be able to cope with earthquakes.
One of the things that's good for a tunnel is to have some level of flexibility so that when the ground moves around it, that a function of the tunnel is not compromised.
Instead of building one long seamless tunnel, they build it in segments. A tunnel boring machine digs out the tunnel tube and lines it with concrete modules. They're coated in rubber so they can move against each other. This allows the whole tunnel tube to flex, so it doesn't break when the ground around it moves. Ken's biggest project is the Central Subway, a 1.5-mile-long metro line into the city center. The most difficult part is building a train station right here, under Chinatown.
This is one of the most densely populated parts of the country, so we need to build the station with a minimum amount of disruption. The construction will certainly be challenging, but it creates a puzzle that we love to work to try and solve.
The team will use the tunnels as the starting point for their station. They'll fill one section with concrete. This will shore up the walls so the diggers can smash through them and carve out a huge station cavern. Then the crews will line the walls with steel mesh and spray quick-drying concrete over it. Finally, they'll install the platforms and tracks so the station is ready for business. The new Central Subway will be a big boost for San Francisco's transportation network. 16 trains an hour will shuttle tens of thousands of people in and out of downtown every day. And the flexible tunnels and stations should survive almost anything the Earth throws at them.
The safest place to be in an earthquake is in a tunnel, underground, because the ground actually moves much less than anything built on top of it. I was underground in the 1989 earthquake. It felt like a big train came into the station, and my friends who are on the 40th floor of some of the skyscrapers were hanging on for dear life as their building moved back and forth 4 to 5 feet.
By going underground, engineers in San Francisco defend its transportation network from earthquakes. But above ground, there's another challenge: protecting its structures and people from a deadly consequence of earthquakes: fire. Big earthquakes can shake a city to the core. But what follows in their wake is even more dangerous.
So we're going to need some trucks down here as soon as you can get them.
The biggest risk after the earthquake is probably the fires that are ensuing from broken gas lines.
Chief Stevens is in charge of earthquake response at the San Francisco Fire Department.
Walter, you got all the guys?
His team of 1,400 firefighters and 43 fire engines must be ready to take on the ferocious gas fires that break out after earthquakes. They use a man-made island in San Francisco Bay as a training ground, so they can prepare for the worst-case scenario.
We train frequently, so when it actually comes time to game time, we should do well.
We have a 2-story concrete building, fire on the 2nd floor.
The problem with free-flowing gas is we're not sure where the pipe breaks will be. They could be in the street or in the buildings themselves. If we have free-flowing gas and it finds an ignition source, we're going to have a very large fire to worry about.
Droppy 2, big line, copy.
After an earthquake, the firefighters will need millions of gallons of water. Unfortunately, San Francisco is a surprisingly dry place. The city is surrounded by water, but there are no rivers that flow through the center. One of the few sources of fresh water on the peninsula is the San Mateo Creek, which runs right along the San Andreas Fault. Here, engineers took extreme measures to collect more fresh water for the city. They built a dam right into the fault. This turned the tiny San Mateo Creek into a huge reservoir filled with over 20 billion gallons of water. And holding it all back is the Crystal Springs Dam. When it was built in 1888, it was the largest concrete dam in the world, with an amazing new earthquake-proof design. Under its skin lies not one solid wall, but a mosaic of gigantic interlocking concrete blocks. During a quake, these blocks can move, so the dam wall can flex without breaking. This clever design has kept Crystal Springs intact for more than 120 years. It even survived the Great Earthquake of 1906. But the pipes carrying the water 25 miles into the city were ripped apart. A disaster for the firefighters.
The infrastructure, which included the pipes and gas lines underground, was damaged. Because it was damaged, there was no water at the fire hydrants to put out the fire.
Fires destroyed 2/3 of the city. 200,000 people lost their homes, and more than 3,000 died. It's still the biggest catastrophe San Francisco has ever seen. And the firefighters couldn't do anything to help.
Damage was caused by the earthquake, but more damage was actually caused by the fire that ensued.
2nd floor, the fire room. Fire has been extinguished.
Engineers in San Francisco made sure such a tragedy will never happen again. They built a unique water supply into the city itself. It starts at one of the highest points, the Twin Peaks. Here, they built a huge reservoir. It is strictly reserved for firefighting and designed to survive earthquakes. Engineers sank a pool deep into the hill and lined it with reinforced concrete slabs. Joints between the slabs allow the pool to warp without cracking. The reservoir can store over 10 million gallons of water. Gravity pulls this water downhill at extreme pressure into a network of pipes buried under the city. They hook up to 1,500 hydrants that feed nearly 20,000 gallons a minute to San Francisco's firefighters.
Water's coming, Donnie.
I'm not really worried about our ability to respond to the next quake. No matter what happens, we'll be able to get water when we need it, where we need it.
San Francisco's emergency water supply gives firefighters nearly unlimited firepower. 150 miles of quake-proof high-pressure pipes hidden under the streets keep the 1,500 hydrants from running dry, no matter what the earth throws at them. Engineers have done all they can to protect San Francisco's infrastructure. But there's one final goal: to predict exactly when the next big one will strike. Earthquakes are terrifying because they strike without warning.
Freeway has come down. There's a hell of an earthquake, and we've got windows and everything is falling out.
Predicting when they will hit is the ultimate challenge. The answer may lie 180 miles south of San Francisco. The town of Parkfield has only 18 inhabitants, but more quakes than anywhere else on the San Andreas Fault. That's why it's become a real hotspot for geologists like Andy Snyder. Scientists here are trying to find the holy grail of seismology, a sign that a quake is about to strike.
There's a patch on the San Andreas down about 3 kilometers, 10,000 feet or a couple of miles, about the size of a soccer field. And it has recurring micro earthquakes like magnitude 1s. They all recur on that patch.
The geologists wanted to get as close as possible to this spot. They drilled a hole nearly 2 miles down into the heart of the San Andreas. Now they can put their instruments right next to the hyperactive rupture zone. Today, a team of geophysicists is installing an ultra-sensitive microphone, hoping it will survive the grueling conditions at the bottom.
Spool out.
We've had 25 in that hole, and a lot of them have failed. In the bottom of the main hole, we're looking at 260 degrees Fahrenheit, or 120 Celsius, so it's way above boiling. So it's a hostile environment. You have to take a lot of care to put together the instrument, get all the seals right, so it doesn't flood or corrode once you get it down there. So I'm going to pull it up very slowly, and we're going to set it right there, okay? Now, it's counting.
Okay.
All right.
The team drops the sensor down 3,000 feet. Once in position, an arm clamps it to the side of the hole. Then it starts listening for minute changes in the Earth's crust. What the scientists are trying to find is a unique sound pattern just before an earthquake strikes. Up top, they can now hear the hum of rocks moving in the fault.
This is a trace noise, which is occurring 300 feet down below, and this is how it sounds like. Very beautiful data. These are like tiny micro earthquakes. We hope that by studying micro events, we will learn much more about large events.
The instruments at Parkfield could provide vital data for a new early warning system. They sit alongside a network of 60 GPS motion sensors dotted along the San Andreas Fault. They cannot predict earthquakes, but can detect them early on and then try to outrun them.
The speed of light is much faster than the speed of the earthquake waves. So when you have a major event, you can send an electronic signal out ahead of the earthquake wave to shut down generators or power plants or gas pumping stations.
This experiment is still in its early stages. For now, the people of San Francisco have to live with the fact that the big one could happen at any time. But they can rely on the ingenious inventions hidden beneath the skin of this city that anchor its bridges, support its houses, and protect its skyscrapers. To brace this gleaming metropolis against almost anything the Earth can throw at it.